Hi, I'm WriterMaven. I'm gonna go on and get this started now. Y'all know I focus on Judgment Day, Liv, Dom, Rhea Ripley, Damian and Perry's. I focus on them more. That wanted to talk about SmackDown Live and a little bit of the news that's been happening throughout the week. Um, Starting off with, we have a new women's WWE Women's Champion in Tiffany because she cashed in. I kind of expected it, kind of didn't. As a die-hard Ride or Die Naomi fan, I am very disappointed, but Tiffany deserved it. She got her win, and notice that this was a proper face turn for Tiffany. Why am I saying this is a proper face turn? Because let's compare this to Rhea. Now I know I'm bringing Rhea up unprompted, but this is just a comparison I have to make in regards to Rhea Ripley. Tiffany has been being bullied by Nia and by Candice. Yes, she started off being really superficial with Nia at first, trying to get in, and that was her heelish, catty, mean girl stick at first with Nia. But as time evolved, we got to see the Tiffany that the crowd wanted to cheer. And they helped the space turn along the WWE by having Nia and then Candice pull the whole mean girl bitchy act. So it was been a couple of weeks. It paused for War Games, and War Games still, to me, to this day, doesn't make sense in regards to Rhea. But I think they were just shoehorning Rhea in there, and it kind of threw a lot of things off. So I'm just gonna write that off for now. But after War Games, everything started picking back up for the sympathy for Tiffany, and even during War Games, we saw that little bit of tension where Candace was trying to stake her claim to be Nia's best friend. She wormed her way in there, got in Nia's ear, and then effectively pushed Tiffany out, which led Tiffany to cash in on her. But as we see tonight with the crowd, and usually we do get the crowd pop for any kind of cash in, that's just how it works. But with Tiffany, this is a legit face turn because the crowd has been wanting to cheer for Tiffany. So I'm really happy for her. It's a nice organic change. It doesn't feel forced. They're just not resting on their laurels and letting the crowd just cheer for Tiffany. They put some effort into making Tiffany go face after her heel run since she's joined the main roster and from NXT. So now we have Nia, not as the champion, and Candice. And now we'll see if Candice will still try to be that bestie for Nia after this, or will she just ditch her because she has her own WWE Speed Championship to worry about. But they don't really mention that on TV. But like I said, in comparison to Rhea, that's a type of moment that establishes a face turn. We really still haven't gotten that from Rhea. And I'm thinking now, with the Tiffany's cash in and win, we probably will get a definite more face turn, hopefully, on Monday. I am still on my 80%. Liv is retaining 20%. Do 20, I have to allow, of course, for the 20% of Triple H's bullshit. Um, but I do like Liv's retaining. This kind of makes it more like Liv's retaining now. They usually don't go with both faces on both brands. Yes, Nia and Liv were heels, but Nia only got that around SummerSlam, and it was Bailey in comparison to Liv at the beginning of the year. Usually you don't get that. Usually don't run face heel on both brands. You usually have a split, and I still think Liv is going. And there's a lot of little clues for this as well. I keep saying, we see a lot of promotions for Liv. And even here recently, we saw on Entertainment Tonight how Liv had she had her whole little TV interview with Entertainment Tonight, showing off her farm, her animals, her closet, everything. This is, and then you have her doing all the interviews elsewhere. Her colleagues are hyping her up. She's doing the Netflix promos. Dom is doing the Netflix promos, and you can see that tonight. You saw when they were advertising the NXT. You saw when they're advertising the Netflix experience, it's always Liv and Dom. That's why I'm saying Liv and Dom aren't going nowhere, and I don't think they would put uh, a lot of this media blitz with Liv just for her to lose, especially in the face that we're not seeing this with Rhea. Rhea has been quiet. We haven't seen anything Netflix wise. We see her on some billings because she has to be on certain billings, but we don't see this blitz for Rhea like we do Liv. And of course, some people are saying, well, maybe Rhea was out injured when they were recording this. But as I've always said, if you are important enough for the WWE, you would get that camera time. You would get that time to advertise for whatever they need you to do. If you're important enough, you'll get flown out, injury or no. And then apparently the injury isn't that bad because she was back in like 2 weeks. So it couldn't have been that bad where it just threw off everything, where they just throw up their hands and, oh, well, we can't do anything for you. They could have been filming something for Rhea. So I am still thinking Liv wins. Now, with the revelation that this looks like still doesn't look to be a last woman standing match, but a regular match, I'm still holding with my prediction. And don't let people just go after you for like believing dirt sheets and things like that. I don't really believe dirt sheets. Like, I only put a little bit of faith in Sean Ross Sapp from Frightful, but nobody debunked the last women standing match. Nobody. I haven't seen Sean Ross Sapp come out and say, hey, this is fake. Now we got the place card tonight where it looks like to be a regular match. And like I said, the card is always subject to change. We have a lot of time between now and Monday for this match to become a last woman standing match. And I saw with my own eyes on the actual video, not just a place card, but video, that it was the last woman standing match. So it's out there. You can look on the X, you can look it up. There is a video of them advertising it as a last woman standing match. So it's not like people are lying about this. So even with it just being a regular match, all that just means is that either Liv pins Rhea, which I can believe because they have been having Rhea pin Liv. They could just finally get Liv to have that pin on Rhea and just write that off. Or this could be even interference wise. This might be something where they just have to tell Rhea, no, you can't challenge anymore. And then this could be a Becky return. I think Becky will return probably either after this match or later on. I don't even think she's going. I don't think she would interfere because I would think she would want to ensure that Liv has the title so she can go after Liv for said title. I don't think this is just going to be a non-title match between Becky and Liv. And again, do not believe Corey or Ibu because they keep pushing this. They keep saying this EO and Rhea agenda at WrestleMania 31. I've already gone into why this is it because right now there is a huge language barrier with EO, and you cannot carry a feud from WrestleMania from now until WrestleMania just on promos. This needs a story. EO and Rhea should have been teased a long time ago. They had been teasing with like Bianca and Rhea and even Becky with Rhea. They have yet to, they haven't teased anything. They did one thing. And then Leo has been losing clean. So I don't really believe that. Nobody, and then like I said, this is only like two people that keep saying this whole Rhea and EO thing, and I have yet to see this from anybody else, not like even WrestleVotes or PW Insider or even Sean Ross South himself. I have yet to see anything that indicates that it's going to be Rhea and EO. And that's going to be, and then that would be face versus face, and you really can't do face versus face without burying the other person. Becky and Rhea only sort of worked this last year because Dom was there to generate the heat. But now they don't have nobody to bounce off of. It'll just be Rhea and Io, and it'll just be in their little isolated bubble because they're not connected to anybody. Io has damage control, but I don't think you want to have Dakota if she wins the women's intercontinental title. You wouldn't want Dakota in there trying to be Io's mouthpiece. She would have her own title to worry about. I really don't think Rhea's winning because it's way too much stuff missing. She's not on any Netflix billings. She's not doing Netflix billings. She's not doing a lot. She did a little bit on the holiday tour, but it's just been nothing. She just shows up and says a little bit of something and leaves, and there's nothing else to it. It's been very minimal. And if we do have Rhea win, we'll just have more of the same, where she's just holding the belt for ad nauseum forever because they don't want to put nobody else up there with her to challenge her. I'm not expecting Rhea to have a Cody Rhodes run where she's having 100 matches a year, but I need her to be doing at least a little bit something else, especially in the face where all these other women and all these other men are actually wrestling. She has a Roman Reigns schedule where I don't think where Roman has earned his schedule. Rhea, if she's injured, okay, fine. But they could have just left her off right now. I'm not sure why there's always this push for her to be back. It seems like she was just pushing so she could have her dream War Games match to be with Jade and Bianca and Io. And then you see how that match turned out. Nobody was really only a certain subsection of people were happy with the War Games match because all the champions got buried and the Money in the Bank at the time, Tiffany. But I will call your attention to when Paul Heyman was walking in. Did we see the Liv and Dom WrestleMania truck as Paul Heyman was walking in and hilariously avoiding the metal detector? But you see how long that camera lingered on that truck? Could be nothing, could be something. I don't like to say that everything is a clue for this thing because not everything is going to be a clue, but Triple H isn't subtle. And it just gives you something to think about because why would you hold that camera on Dom and Liv's WrestleMania truck? Especially, it's not like it was a cut to, it's not like it was a camera hold until the commercials. It was a camera hold pulling into Netflix. It was it's that bumper for Netflix that keeps popping up and reminding everybody that Raw is going to be on Netflix. But you see how long they held that truck, and it's just interesting. I'm not sure to make of it, and no, I don't think they're going to SmackDown. Like I said, they put a lot of promotion into Liv and Dom on Netflix, and I don't think they're going to have them be on SmackDown. I'm just not sure what it means at this particular point. But anywho, that was just my spiel. I still haven't changed my prediction. I still think Liv is going to win. Either she's the last one standing, or she just straight up pins Rhea. Now this does not mean that it will be clean. Some people think that this is going to be something clean, and I don't think so. Liv is a heel, so she can do heelish things, and I still to this day do not know why people think Liv needs to win something cleanly because heels rarely win clean. And if you and only because like even Gunther when he's heel wasn't winning clean 100% of the time. Like you can have honorable heels, but most of the time a heel is going to cheat or use the match against the other face. So I don't think it's going to be necessarily a clean win, but it's going to be in a way that probably ends this thing. And like I said before, I just don't see if Rhea wins. I don't see what the story would be. Io is just like what? Is it just going to be I'm the best? Like we've already had that. That was kind of Becky last year, and we see how that turned out. Was it a pretty good match? Yeah, it was pretty good. Will Io and Rhea probably be a good match? Yeah, it could be a pretty good match there. But we won't have like any meaty story behind it, and that's what hurt the Becky and Rhea WrestleMania match last year. It also hurt the Charlotte and Rhea match from 2023. But Dom saved the Charlotte and Rhea build because he was there. Anybody remember Dom's Queenie promo where he called Charlotte Queenie? That which kicked off like everything between Rhea and between Rhea and Charlotte. Again, that's Dom. Dom kicked that one off. Dom generated stuff for Becky and Rhea. You wouldn't have anything near Dom's pull for Rhea and Io. And then barring Rhea and Io, who else would Rhea face up against? Is she going to be a fighting champion when she hasn't been a fighting champion? Like you can't start claiming to be a family. You can't be starting to claim to be a fighting champion now when she hasn't been for 2 years. And like I said, Rhea doesn't even have Judgment Day to fall back on. She can't jump into the men's division anymore, and she doesn't have Dom to depend on. And like Riccolo, my commenter says on here all the time, Rhea needed Dom. Dom gave her a lot. Now that he's gone, she's kind of floundering because she's stuck in the women's division. If you're stuck in the women's division, you can't branch out. It really hinders your progress. Liv is affiliated with Judgment Day, which helps her branch out. Same with Raquel. But with Rhea, she doesn't have that. She can't just hop over into the men's division anymore like she had been. So what would be her story if she wins? People will always have to think about what will happen next. So Rhea wins the championship, and then what? Okay, Io, and then what? What are you gonna do for these next 3 to 4 months between now and WrestleMania? And then what? Meanwhile, if we go over to Liv wins, and then what? Becky returns. We've seen her promoted on Netflix. Liv and Becky, and then what? They feud for the title because, as I said on the X at WMaven WWE, Becky is the only one that can say that she had her title stolen from her because of what Liv and Dom did. They conspired. They worked it out to where Dom helped Liv win the title from Becky, and then Dom helped Liv retain the title against Becky during that cage match. There is more story with Liv and Becky. There is more meat. We have what we seen what happened at King and Queen of the Ring last year. We saw Dom help Liv. We saw Dom slam a cage door. It was Braun, but we can always just say that it was Dom that goaded, Braun to start charging everybody and slam Dom into the cage. And then Becky has mentioned it. I'm not going to go out with Dom slamming a cage door in my face. So she's already attributed that to Dom. So we already have a story there. And that story needs a title. You can't run, I don't think you can run that story properly without a title because all it is just, okay, you're going after Liv for whatever reason, revenge. Just because she said that she retired you. And that's something you can build something off of, but that doesn't bring a lot of heat to the story. That's just like a regular run up story. That's like somebody returning and like targeting somebody, and then there's nothing attached to it. A title will have something for Becky to win because she never got a proper run. She was cheated out of her title by Liv and Dom, and she can be going after Liv for said title, and she can be getting revenge against Dom for helping Liv. There's a lot of layers to that particular story. And then you could throw in Liv saying she retired and she's the greatest women's champion of all time. You could add a lot to that particular story, and that needs a belt. With Rhea, do you see any kind of story that has that kind of meat right now for her? Even Tiffany. Tiffany has a story with meat. She has something with Nia. She has something with Candace. They bullied her. And now Nia's gonna be coming after her, but she could be having something that says like I stood up for myself and I became the champion. And there's also the incoming Charlotte Flair, which could be going after Tiffany as well. So there is something there for Tiffany. And there was always something there for Nia too. Like they didn't pull the trigger for Nia. You could have Charlotte come back to go after Nia because she's queen of the ring. That's that. You always have to ask yourself with wrestling, and then what when it comes to booking and how things are playing out. It's real easy to fantasy book something where you want somebody to win, but you have to think of what could happen in the next few months after those wrestling booking decisions. But so the meat there is with Liv and Becky, and with them going after the title, and with the title being involved. That's when this is a story that needs a title. Rhea, you don't really need a story before Rhea and Io. You can run Io and Rhea. You can run Io and Rhea, but that doesn't necessarily need the title. They can just wrestle, no foul. They don't have to be followed. They don't need a title to have that match. Will it be a good match? Yeah, but it's just going to be a match. Throw it in as an opener. You're good and go. You're good to go. If you absolutely have to have Rhea on the card. But to get to the rest of SmackDown, we had Cody Rhodes open and say a whole bunch of nonsense. I mentioned that he just had a whole unnecessary promo with a whole bunch of unnecessary cheap pops. Talking about Kevin, and then Drew McIntyre came out, hugged Cody, and Cody was like, "I am confusion," and then professed like he's looking after Cody and to watch his back, and then that leaves Kevin to come in, and then Cody miraculously he heals up himself and fights Kevin. So I guess we're gonna have that whole back and forth um, until Royal Rumble. But the look on Cody's face when Drew hugged him was hilarious because I just had to say I am confusion because Cody didn't know what to think regarding Drew. And then we had Mi Chin versus Piper Niven. I do hope Piper Niven gets more of a fair shake because she is really good. Chelsea is good as the United States champion. I do see that split happening soon because you can already see the cracks forming between now that Chelsea has the title. Now she's going to start sacrificing Piper, and that's probably going to end up being a feud between Chelsea and Piper, and maybe even Piper even gets the United States title after that. Who knows? But we already see the cracks forming there. And then Andrade versus Shinsuke. I really did not like how they set this match up for Andrade to lose so we can bring out LA Knight to set up that again because that was just that to me that's just a waste of Andrade. Andrade is too good. Yeah, he needs somebody to help him connect with the crowd more, and that's when you need Zelina. They could have just put Zelina back with him, but I didn't really like Andrade just being used just so LA Knight to come up there. I'm personally not a fan of LA Knight. I just don't. I click with me. I don't like him. So just seeing Andrade just use that didn't really sit well with me. Like LA, you could have just called like Dot for Shinsuke. We didn't have to have that match just for LA Knight. Out have Shinsuke come out and then have LA Knight challenge him, and you're done. I mean, for Andrade to show off how good he is, because usually during his matches, the crowd gets really involved with his matches. But again, that's just giving him a loss where he didn't need the loss. Andre needs wins. We did see, I saw something interesting with Pretty Deadly and Apollo. Apollo is now using his clairvoyant skills that he gained in NXT 2.0. And if you don't remember that whole clairvoyant thing that Apollo did in NXT 2.0, you know, you're lucky. So Apollo had a whole clairvoyant thing in NXT 2.0. It was weird, but whatever. So you have Apollo, saying that, he knows that Pretty Deadly, is covering for DIY. Everybody knows this. And then this brings up Legato, who are pissed about that because, and rightfully so, because pretty much Pretty Deadly just pretty much told on them to get the street profits onto them, and Garza, Angel, and Berto were not happy about it. So I kind of did like this whole setup with Legato, Pretty Deadly, and Apollo, and then like DIY. because later Nick Aldis was because when after Legato attacked Pretty Deadly, Aldis she got them separated. Aldis was like, "We're gonna have a little talk," and then when we come back from commercial, we have Aldis like grilling them, and DIY comes in and is like, "Oh, these are these fine, upstanding men. Like, why are you accusing them?" So at least we have a little bit of the story with the SmackDown Tag Team Division, which is a lot, what we could say a lot more than on Raw because we have War Raiders and Damian Priest doing absolutely jack stick and David no selling. But I digress. To me, you can almost say that Legato is kind of turning face a little bit, just a little bit, because they were done wrong. See, these are these little things that you have to pay attention to because this is to be another hint of Legato turning face, and I wouldn't mind it. I don't mind Santos being a face again. I love Santos. So if they want to throw Legato just to rebalance the heels again, because especially if American Made gets thrown over there on SmackDown, they might want to rebalance the tag teams where you have a face. Motor City Machine Guns, you have Legato, you have Pretty Deadly, you have DIY, you have maybe American Made. Yeah, so you need to have somebody turn face, you can do Legato. Now Legato could flip and go Raw if they wanted to do something, just to refreshen up the tag teams on both Raw and SmackDown. And you kind of knew that because you have on Raw War Raiders, Judgment Day. Well, I'm not counting American Made, and then you have LWO. So it's kind of dire straits for men tags on Raw. So you could throw Legato back to Raw. Now this could be interesting because LWO is on Raw. But if they want to do that, so we have a more welcoming place for Pentagon to come in. They might be doing that for Pentagon. Now that I think about it, yeah. So they can flip Legato face, throw them back on Raw, get American Made in a trade, and then you're running like all the luchadors and Hispanic teams on Raw for Penta to work with, and that kind of makes sense. That just gives him a more welcoming team because you'll have Ray there, you'll have the Witchy Boys. I call them Witchy Boys, but whoever those two guys are in LWO, Dragon Lee, and then if you have Legato over there, you'll have Berto, Angel, Santos, and then Dom. So you have a little, and then Damien's over there too, but I'm not gonna talk about Damien right now. But you'll have a little bit more Spanish speaking people there for Pentagon when he shows up on Raw. So that might just there could be just rebalancing it. So Pentagon has people who can speak his language to work with him in the ring because he's going straight main roster. He's not going to stop in NXT, so you're not going to have that cushion there for him. He's pretty much getting dropped right in the fire. So you can just throw Legato over there just to give Pentagon a little bit more comfort. And I really don't see the problem with it. So you could probably just do Legato face or tweener. I don't think Santos is going to resolve his differences with Ray, and I hope not. They could throw. What I'm hoping they don't do is just throw Pentagon with Ray as the tag team, like as tag team partner against New Day. That's another tag team I forgot about. I'm really hoping that's not Penta, but if they do go Penta with Rey Mysterio, I'm really hoping Dragon Lee does the turn just because it'll be hilarious. That'll just be hilarious to me. Dragon Lee turns because Bray has another protege or another descendant that he wants to train up, and it will have the infamous "Dom is right" promo from Dragon Lee. So that would actually be hilarious. It'll be Santos, Carlito, and Dragon Lee pretty much saying that Dom was right about Rey Mysterio. And that's the only way I would accept Pentagon being with Rey Mysterio. Um, me personally, if I with Pentagon, I kind of want Pentagon with Dom. Let Dom be able to be that mouthpiece for Pentagon, and then Pentagon can be that healer for Dom. That's who I want. Let him show up, wreck shit, and then he's there for Dom, and then later on down the line, y'all can have that. You can have the inevitable falling out. But that's me personally. But if you gotta throw in Pentagon with Ray, you need to have Dragon Lee turn. You just have to. It's tradition at this point. What else happened? We had DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns that ended in no contest. They said I thought it was DQ, but it was no contest because Pretty Deadly Kate showed up to distract Motor City Machine Guns, and then Legato, Angel, and Berto they came out after Pretty Deadly because they were still pissed, and then they start and their fight caused the no contest. So DIY ends up still having the titles by the skin of their teeth, and like I said, I still don't know what they're gonna go do with Pretty Deadly and with Legato, but it might be just one of these rebalancing things with them. And then we had Bloodline, Timu Bloodline versus OTC Bloodline. Six man, I really did not. To be fair, I did not really pay attention to it because it was the same result of Solo winning. I guess they need to give Solo that win. I see why. Just to set it up for the Tribal Warfare match on Monday. He had Solo had came out earlier saying demanding that wins. He Watt Paul is his wise man forever. I'm like, okay. Just to me, that seems like that's just going to be Roman winning that match because you're gonna he's gonna earn his Uafala back. I don't know what they're gonna do with Solo Sikoa. They might still be on Raw or they could be on SmackDown. I'm not sure, but I don't know. I mean, it's bloodline stuff. I still wanted Sammy to turn. That's just me personally because I think he could do well with being a heel, especially with Kevin running around here as a heel. And when Sammy and Kevin are heels, they are perfect. I much prefer Sammy Uso as a heel. He does really good work as a heel. If you didn't know, like that when Kevin was battling Shane McMahon like years and Sammy turned heel there, they were really a insufferable pair, Sammy and Kevin Owens. And I always like it when they're in that insufferable pair because they do all kinds. They just bounce off of each other wherever they're heels. So that's why I'm hoping Sammy kind of turns back heel. Anywho, I think that's it for SmackDown. There was a lot of stuff that it was like stuff happened on SmackDown, but a lot of stuff, but it was like a lot of filler. I guess they got to figure out how to fill all this 3 hour time with SmackDown now. But we did get the moment of the night with Tiffany cashing in. She wins. I feel badly for Naomi, but like I said, that's me personally, and I'm ride or die for Naomi. Hopefully, they just gone and pull the trigger on her heel turn because I think she needs that more. Because I think you can take her loss here as another fuel to the fire of her turning heel. I really don't think it was Bianca that attacked Jade. I think it was Naomi, so she could get into these spots where she could get what she wanted, which is the title. But let's see. Go ask. Let's go answer some questions. Questions. Hold on, I gotta scroll up. T Stack says people think Tiffany women confirms Rhea's winning. I don't think so. Mostly due to the fact that, like I said, Rhea's not really being advertised for Raw. I'm seeing Liv and Dom all over the place, and like I said, there's a story in place for Liv where there isn't with Rhea. I don't see there is no story with Rhea winning. All she would have is just a potential match, maybe with Io, but that's about it. There's no story behind it, and people think that if the end for Rhea and Liv, you really think that Liv is just going to vacate the main roster, the scene if she loses. I think that's a lot of the online discourse. They always think, oh, she could just go tag. Nah, she's not gonna. She is not going to exit the main event scene. Now, by the way she's being paraded around. Like that's uptight to me. She's going to be in the ring, and she's going to be in the main event scene, and she's going to be there for a while. And a lot of people just got to get used to it. But I don't really think Tiffany really winning doesn't have any bearing on Liv winning. And I don't think this is going to be like, oh, this could be a fresh start. If this is a fresh start, it would be a lot of belts flipping. Gunther, if you want to have fresh start, Gunther and Braun should be flipping if they really wanted to do a fresh start. And I don't think this is going to be one of these fresh starts moments. This is just one of those things where you want to have a big moment on your first show, and on Monday Night Raw, you'll have big moments with Roman Reigns earning back the Ulafala. That's your big moment to pop the crowd. The Liv like losing the title, it won't be necessarily a big moment. You won't be talking about um Rhea winning the title if Roman earns back his Ulafala, because we have the story behind that. Like I keep saying, Roman has a story. He gets his Ulafala back. That's the big moment that the crowd is going to pop for. They might pop for Rhea winning, yeah, because that's how they, like I say, they curate her pops. But it's not going to be a moment like a Tiffany moment, because Tiffany's moment hit harder. Let's see. Galaxy to Rise says the best part of the Charlotte versus Rhea build was Dominik Charlotte's interaction. Dominik and Charlotte were hilarious. Sometimes I have to go back ever so often. I'll go back to watch his promo, the Queenie promo. It's the very first interaction between Dominik and Charlotte. Go back and watch it on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's on Netflix now or if it's that archive is still like on Peacock. It might be on Peacock. But his interaction with Charlotte was it was amazing and hilarious. It was just like, because it was kind of like Donna trauma dumping on Charlotte, and then I don't know. It's just it's hard to describe their promo, but it was just a really good. It was a really good interaction between Charlotte, and Dom. And see, if Andrade had been back and they wanted to put Andrade with Charlotte, that would have been a perfect time, because Andrade, is Charlotte's husband. So you could work that into it. And I'm kind of surprised they haven't tied that in together. But that could be just because Charlotte was injured right now during this year. Maybe they pick that back up down the line. But that interaction is what kicked off the Rhea and Charlotte feud and made it interesting. Always notice the key thing with Rhea. She always needs somebody to bounce off of to make her interactions better. And then when it comes to the matches, yeah, it might be a good match, but it falls flat. Charlotte and Rhea had a good match despite of the build up. And then Becky and Rhea, it was okay. I know Becky was sick, and she was fighting what, strep throat or something like that, or in a fever. But they always want to seem like they want to give Rhea these big matches, but they keep falling flat because one, the story isn't there, the build up isn't there. You can't just have Rhea be this one note character of I'm the best and all this mommy character that she's created. That she can't keep doing that. She has to develop layers. Dom being there for these past two builds gave her layers and something to bounce off of. She won't have she won't have that this year. She'll be on her own. And when she's on her own, look what happens. Charlotte ran her over the first time. Rhea beat Asuka when she first debuted on the main roster, but that fell flat. She got paired up with Nikki ASH, and that gave her some personality until Nikki turned on her. And then she turned on Liv, and that was, Liv gave her personality too. Notice that she needs people. She's gonna be, I think, unless they can really figure out her character where she can't exist without somebody else, she's always gonna need another person. And there's always gonna be some wrestlers like that. But in Rhea's case, they need to figure that out sooner rather than later, because as soon as these people get tired of the muscle goth with her, when the crowd moves on, the fans move on, she's gonna be in a world of hurt. So they need to figure out something now with her. They need to figure out this character, and that's why It was so disappointing that she kept being the same person from SummerSlam on. SummerSlam should have been a character reset for her. Dom betrayed her. She should have been sad. We didn't get that. It was always just attacking Dom, talking about how little he is, how deep he is. Now he's a chicken titty slut. And I was getting into an argument about people regarding that terminology. Call it like when she held up the sign that said Dom is a slut. Because all right, look, we do not want that kind of terminology back in the discourse. Because like I said, if Dom was a, if the genders were reversed and Dom called Rhea a slut, we would not hear the end of it. We do not want that to start happening. If we ever get back to attitude era type discourse and fan interactions, I remember times how many times China was straight up being called a man, pretty much every Raw, and it was uncomfortable as fuck. The Attitude Era had a lot of good stuff, with like Raw, with not Raw. The Attitude Era had a good stuff with Austin, Rock, that whole corporate thing. It has some really good stuff, but a lot of it was shitty too. And you don't want those shitty bits like being called sluts in there. I really don't care if it's and it doesn't even make sense kayfabe wise. Dom was only with two women, and unless he was running through the NXT locker room, which would actually be kind of funny if it turns out that he was running through the NXT locker room when he was the North American champion. But unless he was doing that, two people don't make you a slut. There's a lot of other stronger words you can use for Dom that work. We don't need to open up that discourse. That's very targeted, and that's against usually a word against women. If you start flipping around to it goes to women, then I don't want to hear the crying. People are already crying about how Liv was saying that gorgeous men like Dawn don't go for women like you towards Rhea. They had a fit about that line. So you can't if you all were having a fit about that line, then you wouldn't want this to be flipped around for something strong like slut to be thrown in Rhea's direction. Just stop it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm begging people, just don't start it. You do not want the Attitude Era back in that way. People say that, people always say, oh, well, you want Attitude Era till you get Attitude Era. What people remember about Attitude Era was mostly due to storylines and the characters and how everybody else had something to do. They don't remember the ugly parts of the Attitude Era. And that needs to stay in the past. Attitude Era, you had to be really careful on how you watch Raw, and I don't want that to go back to where it was. You can be edgy a little bit, you can push the envelope a little bit from time to time, but you don't want to go full Attitude Era again. It brought in the ratings because that hadn't been shown on TV before. But straight full on Attitude Era, yeah, you don't want that back. You want the good parts of the Attitude Era. Characters, all main, upper main, lower card, mid card, tag teams. You want that where it was everybody has something to do. That's what I miss about the Attitude Era. Everybody has something to do. If APA had something to do with the tag teams, and then you had the TLCs with the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian and the Dudley Boys, and then you had mid cards with Eddie Guerrero and all them, lower cards, cruiserweights, Hurricane, things like that. Main, Austin, Raw, Triple H. Everybody had something to do. That's what you want from the Attitude Era. But you don't want these little bad bits back. I don't want to see like come Raw. I don't want to see starting to see signs like that in the crowd. Now they may not let that in. They usually crack down on that, but I don't want that to be snuck in. You start seeing that on shows. You really don't want to see that because again, it shouldn't be. It's not fair for Dom's character to always have to field all this with that kind of language and like Rhea beating on him when you wouldn't do that against other. You wouldn't have the reverse happen. It's a double standard. We don't need that. But that was a whole diatribe that I got started track on. Marcus Phoenix says, I believe Liv is winning, but if she loses, do you think she will do a Becky or Wyatt 6? See, this Corey and Ibu keep trying to bring up like Judgment Day would go fight Wyatt 6. How would that happen? Look at what's going on with Wyatt Six right now and Final Destination. They didn't even show up last week. How would you get a Judgment Day and Wyatt Six feud? How would that happen? Wyatt Six, yeah, Wyatt Six. They say, well, Wyatt Six goes after people that kick out their family. Okay, so there's a better target with New Day right now because of what they did to Big E. Wyatt Six went after Chad Gable because of how he was treating Otis and Akira and Maxine, who had, they did everything for him. If they want to go after somebody, it would be New Day because even though they're a little bit justified, Big E did nothing to Xavier and Kofi to get that treatment. It would make more sense to go after New Day. Wyatt Six, and they keep want. Somebody brought that up, like, well, I think that was Corey to Boo again. Like they keep nobody actually sells the source on that thing. Well, it's being discussed. How do you get from now to WrestleMania with Wyatt Six? If you get Wyatt Six, that means Finn has to stay in the Judgment Day some kind of way. And by the way Finn's going, I don't think you can keep Finn being so demented where he stays with everybody with all this tension. When Judgment Day had tension before, at least they had like a bandana in the form of the undisputed tag titles to keep the group from fracturing at that particular moment. Right now, they don't have that. Liv still has the title, but she can, if she loses, who's to say that they just split it right there and go? Why would they want to stay around Finn? Because Finn's been negging everybody. He's been belittling Liv, Raquel, Dom. Like, why would they want to stay? And just for a Wyatt Six, and then they said, well, Liv can go against Alexa, but again, why? They turned against Damian and Rhea, but they can't see. But if you do Wyatt Six and Judgment Day, that means you have to pull in the history of what Dom and Liv did to Rhea. Because on its face value, you'll just be going after Judgment Day just for nothing, basically. And since they don't want to say the history of Rhea, then you can't pull from anything. That would just be a really weak feud and really below Liv Dom, and that actually is below Judgment Day. Screw even with Finn being how he is and how Judgment Day has fallen off, that's still not a good feud for Judgment Day because that's holding Finn into something where he needs to split off, or at least La Familia needs to split off, and then that's not rewarding Liv for all the work that she's done. I could maybe see Wyatt Six against Finn. Like I said last week, I can see Wyatt Six against Finn. Maybe. Because you can bring out Demon Malore. If that happens, okay, yeah. Finn by himself, not Judgment Day. The better feud for the Wyatt Six will probably be New Day. Because, like I said, they have that heat. They're the ones that actually turned on an innocent party in Big E. Damian and Rhea weren't innocent. And then it would make it really, and then for me, it would be really hypocritical for Wyatt Six to go after Judgment Day because all Judgment Day did was kick out the people that were did everyone wrong. Rhea did her stuff, Damian did his stuff. So you're going to go after Judgment Day for kicking out people that actually did them harm? Like, just because y'all want to rewrite history doesn't mean that I've forgotten about it. That would be really insulting my intelligence. And it's like where some of my friends have noticed with the Netflix thing, how they've cut out what lives, or they've kind of cleaned up like what was it, Rhea stuff regarding her past or something like that. So it's like they're trying to rewrite all of what Rhea's done, but we still have we have the WWE's own playlist. So you can't clean it up that much. And again, just to bring this back, and so I would go live with Becky, but and see with Becky, you can actually see this is another thing with Liv being a feud with Becky. Liv versus Becky would allow them to actually use the history of what happened before Rhea returned. Like, since Rhea wasn't there, you can actually use that history. You can use that history of Liv sneaking around with Dom. You could have that history of Dom flying all the way to Saudi Arabia for Liv. You can actually use that history, and since it will be detrimental to Rhea, that you can pull that in. So that's another point in Liv versus Rhea's favor. You could actually use that history. They could go back when Becky returns and she's talking about Liv and what happened. They can actually go back and show the footage of what happened in Saudi Arabia. They could go back and show the footage of what happened on Raw. And then you could have Becky in her promo saying, I was sitting at home and I was noticing what Liv and Dom were doing. This could actually be a vehicle to show how smart Dom is. This could be a vehicle to show that Dom's not the follower that people think he is. There's a lot of more applications that you could do with Liv versus Becky than this Wyatt Six stuff. And like I said, Wyatt Six still hasn't really been confirmed. I haven't heard that from Shara Sapp. I haven't heard that from PW Insider. Not even really with WrestleVotes. There's only a few reputable sources that I will give my ear to listen to, but y'all got to remember for with a lot of these sources that they have been wrong a lot of the times, and I think the WWE has been feeding them some false information from time to time because sometimes they be way off. See the Rhea situation, they were way off of Rhea. We were all sitting here thinking that she's gonna be gone till these Royal Rumble, and she returned in 2 weeks. Everybody looked like an idiot. So you have to take a lot of these reports with a grain of salt. It's kind of like how they're talking about now with WrestleMania plans. Oh, the working thing is going to be Cody and John Cena. It could be a working plan, but we still have to think about The Rock. And if The Rock decides at the last minute that he's going to jump in here somewhere, things can change on a dime. Nothing really at this point is set in stone. When we hit Royal Rumble, then that's when we'll start to see how WrestleMania looks like and how it's starting to shape up. But until then, it's almost too early to tell. We don't know how WrestleMania is going to turn out. We don't even know how Royal Rumble is going to turn out. The only match on Royal Rumble is the both of the Royal Rumble matches and Cody and Kevin. We don't even know what's going to be at this next Saturday night main event, and that's what in another 2 or 3 weeks. So we have to be very careful when it comes to these dirt sheets. Bricola says, "Hey, Bricola, all Rhea is going to do is walk around with the title and with no one to fight, no storyline. That's the thing. She has no story. It's just going to be her holding the title. Like I said, at least with Liv, she has this thing with Judgment Day. She has something with Becky, and she has something with Dom and Raquel. She has stories to sink into. They could start having Liv fight up against Finn with his demented self. They could do that. They could have Finn acting the way he is, and then Liv and Dom just decide to cut their losses and split from Judgment Day. There's story there. Rhea does not have a story. None. She's wanting to go after the title, but after that, what does she do? With or without the title, she has Rhea has no story. And I think people are really failing to see that. Ricola says again, Becky coming back sets up WrestleMania versus Liv. And that's where I think they're going. And it makes sense with the title. It doesn't make sense without a title. You can run it without a title, but what will be the point of Becky coming back against Liv if Liv doesn't have the title? Just, I mean, you can go to make Liv's life more miserable, but still, it wouldn't make any sense for Becky to return without the title because Liv was the one that took the title from Becky. It wasn't Rhea. And people like to say that, oh, it could be a triple threat between Becky, Rhea, and Liv. Why do we need to inject Rhea into it? Rhea is not a part of that. They finished their story at WrestleMania between Rhea and Becky. There's no reason for Rhea to be involved with that story, and it would just drag it down. Because she could just say that I'm the best. I deserve another shot. I never lost the title. The only thing I would want is like Becky just saying to Rhea like, you need to get to the back of the line. So there's no story for Rhea with or without the title. And Ricola says again, Rhea has to work her way back to the title, and she has to go into work. That's what she should have been doing. She got way too many opportunities. Like Heel's Corner said, she pinned Liv, but these were in a team environment. It wasn't like she just straight up did it single on her own. War Games and even at Basher Berlin, it was a team effort thing. You can't just keep calling her shots. That's what made the storyline bad. It's just that Rhea could just keep calling her shot, and it didn't make any sense. Anybody else would have been told you're out of chances at getting the back of the line. But Rhea always had to get the special booking where she just kept challenging her, and then now that's why people want the storyline to end. But people don't need to realize that just because the title goes to Rhea doesn't mean that it won't be repetitive. You're free, and then everything is gonna get better. Nothing's gonna get better with Rhea having a title. Do people remember how ass her reign was in 2023? This is what people used to talk about. She would just squash people, or when she had people, somebody made a comparison how Zoe was being built up as Trish's protege and how she built up all this goodwill with her matches with Becky. Remember that? And then as soon as Zoe went after Rhea, she couldn't recover. Now she's in Pure Fusion Collective. But you see all that work that Becky did during that whole Trish and Becky feud, and then Zoe's in there, and all that got pissed away as soon as Zoe fought Rhea. It's kind of like how Raquel is. Raquel was able to throw around Rhea last year, but now she can't. You see how ass backward that is? Last year, Raquel was stronger. Now I know she has her skin condition. I'm not talking about non kayfabe, but kayfabe wise. Last year, Raquel was able to toss around Rhea, where Rhea needed to use Dawn to help retain. But then now Rhea's just running over everybody. Nobody comes out better in a feud with Rhea. On the flip side, people who fight Becky come out better. She built up Lyra. She built up Zoe. She even built up Liv. She built up Tiffany. While I was annoyed how Becky was just able to win the Elimination Chamber, but at least with Becky, when you're having a match with her, you usually come out either the same or better than you were when before you faced Rhea. I mean Becky. But Rhea, it just seems like everything just gets sucked in with her vortex, and then you don't come out well. You come out worse because all they do is allow people to get squashed by her. How do you recover from being squashed and pretzel pinned? How do you recover from just being manhandled and getting pretzel pinned? See, people have to think about that. It's the same thing with Io. Well, you could have Io win from the title from Rhea. Y'all really think that they're gonna allow Io to win against Rhea? Seriously? If that's the direction they go? And do people remember how ass Io's reign was too in 2023? The only saving grace with Io is that they had a year long story. Again, there's the story thingy thing. She had a long story with Bailey. That's what saved that match. We already had the build up between Bailey and Io for WrestleMania going into, and then that was going into Royal Rumble. Rhea does not have that. That's what people need to look at. What does Rhea have? She has nothing. Even looking at Io has nothing. Like you could, if you're going to be starting to build up Rhea versus Io, they need to be interacting more. Io should be trying to be thinking about getting to the Royal Rumble to win. We need to have those spots. We haven't had any of that. And I've said before, Triple H likes his long term booking, but he's not subtle. If there's going to be a clue, you're going to see a clue. It's just kind of like how I said that with Finn and Becky. If Finn was bringing in Becky, we would have had a lot more overt clues. It may not be flashing lights, sparklers, and fireworks, but you would have saw a clue. Him being shady is not a clue. Marcus Phoenix, Marcus Phoenix says Dom is going to be Penta's first feud. Triple H will use Dom's heat to put him over the crowd. I think Penta's going to come in heelish. Um, I really hope they don't use Dom like that. Dom needs a title at this point. Like, fuck the process. Dom needs a title. I don't care if it's Intercontinental or World. I don't care. He needs a title. But I don't think they would use Penta. Penta, I think you can, because I don't think they want to pull him in as a face, because that would just be another generic like luchador face. Now Penta can turn on Ray, but again, that's kind of dragging Penta into the LWO vortex of suck. I talk about Damien and Rhea. That's a vortex of suck with the LWO. So I don't think I would want Penta with the LWO. Penta needs to either be by himself or as Dom's heater if I'm going to have my preferences. But if you want to use Dom's heat in a good way, he could get that heat being the Dom heater. Hopefully. That is if he shows up on Monday. Let's see here. Dang it, I hate it. Marcus Phoenix says, I'm tired that when Dom likes a Tiffany post, they think there's something just there, what they think there, but something between them. When Dom and Liv were using social media, it was very overt in what they were doing. Dom was like stuff that either had him directly mentioned in it or he was being really sneaky. But now that he's heel and with Liv, he can now everybody's looking at social. Oh, he like this. Oh, he like that. Everybody liked that. What was it like? He had did like Tiffany stuff, but everybody else liked Tiffany stuff, like Bailey and Rhea or something like that. Everybody was liking that post. And I made a mention on my on social like, "Oh, y'all want to look at clues?" See, from April to SummerSlam, nobody was looking at the clues. I kept telling people, "Okay, this is a clue. This is a clue. This is going on backstage." Nobody wanted to believe it, but now that SummerSlam happens, now everybody thinks it's a clue. Not everything is going to be a clue. It don't work like that. You have to see the lines for those clues. You have to see the path for those clues. It's kind of like how I said, not everything is a clue, but that was a very long, lingering shot on Dom and Liv's WrestleMania truck. It's things like that. I'm not sure if that's a clue or not. That could just be maybe they lingered on it too long. But like I said, you just pick up on things like that. But like I said, it may not be a clue. Finn being demented does not mean Finn, are you talking about to Raquel, is not a clue that he's bringing in Becky. How are you going to make that clue? Or that he's going to cost Liv? And why would you expose Liv like that if you want to stay as leader? Who would stay with Finn as their leader if he cost Liv the title? Now, he could try to do it accidentally on purpose, but everybody's going to know why he's out there. You have to think about stuff like that. And users 9900, the really long user, says this goes to be great of Liv and Becky's feud. There's way more meat with Liv. Like I said, it's way more meat with Liv and Becky. There's nothing with Rhea and Io. I would almost think that they need to just on and ship her to SmackDown. They need stars. If Bianca and Naomi are moving over because they did have the Netflix advertisements, then I would think you need to move Rhea over. You need the star power because not everybody's going to be over. Not everybody's going to be able to be retained by Netflix. You need the star power, and Rhea can help, and that could actually soothe USA Network because Netflix can't take all the star power. You can't have Liv, Dom, Rhea, all them, Roman Reigns. You can't have all the star power. They have to split it up evenly between the brands because USA Network has ratings to think about too. Not like Netflix. Netflix doesn't have to worry about ratings, but USA Network does. User and why Liv couldn't just ask her for a title shot. I'm not sure what you're meaning there. Maybe it's the previously, but like I said, just because Liv loses doesn't mean that she can't ask for a rematch either. So it's not like we're gonna escape this vortex. It's gonna keep going. That's why I was hoping Last Woman Standing was just like a loser leaves SmackDown, loser leaves Raw, because they need that separation. Liv and Rhea, they need to be separated for a while. And like I said, just because it's a regular match now doesn't mean that it can't turn into a last woman standing match on Raw. And it could possibly do that. It could be just looking like a regular match, and then all of a sudden something happens, and then Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce says, "Okay, this is now a last woman standing match, and the loser leaves Raw." You could have that announcement on Raw just to pop the crowd. And User says Don deserves better because I feel so bad for him because he got cheated. If you're talking about Rhea and Jay, yeah, that was emotional cheating. At the very least, it was emotional cheating. And people never want to acknowledge that with see that's history. Like at least not nobody, but some people don't want to acknowledge that that Rhea did that, and that's something that should have came up because prior to Dom hooking up with Liv, Dom has not did not do anything to Rhea, nothing. That's why he didn't deserve the ultimatum where Rhea was threatening to toss him out after he lost the North American Championship. He didn't deserve just her not believing in him when he was trying to go after Gunther. See, there's a lot of stuff that Rhea did, but since they don't want to bring up the past with Rhea, they're always they. It just looks like Dom just left her for chicken tenders and Liv calling him daddy. Now, there's a deeper level of history between Rhea and Dom that they could have tapped into, but they never want to because for some reason we don't get that. But we can get up to history with Drew. Like Drew could say all kinds of stuff with Cody tonight. Why is it that Drew can bring this up with his history with Cody, but nobody else can bring up their history with Rhea? And that's unfair to those characters. Those characters should be able to tap into their shared history with Rhea to help establish their characters more, but they can't. But I'm hoping that once I'm really hoping once Liv wins against Rhea and they shift into Liv and Becky, that they're able to use this history that they weren't able to use after SummerSlam. It's this. User says, let's see if Dom is going to be a babyface. I don't think Dom is going to be a babyface. He can get cheered in certain situations, like with Gunther. I think Dom will be, at best, a tweener. He's probably going to be like Eddie. He can be a lovable heel, and he will get cheered from time to time. But right now, he's a heel. When he was trying, see what he look at the holiday tour videos, he was getting booed as a heel. When he was introducing Liv 2 weeks ago, he was getting booed. He'll be able to get cheered in situations, but I don't think he can be babyface just yet. And I don't really hope they don't try to force that too. You can't force a babyface turn with Dom. I don't think the crowd is ready to turn to cheer because I think they'll get confused right now if they try to force it. It has to be organic, and it doesn't also have to involve Ray. In fact, I hope Dom retires Ray without turning face. Let him be able to keep using his heat. He has heat. Let him keep his heat. Let the heat work to his advantage. Let him get title shots and win titles with that heat. And then once we get through that, maybe we can start thinking about a face turn. Galaxy says, what do you think about people posting about Dom's win-loss record on X? I think I saw that where they were saying, "Oh, I thought Dom was doing better with Rhea." People don't realize that a lot of Dom's losses came with Rhea, especially on the first of the year. He had a horrible win-loss record earlier this year, and that's when he was with Rhea. His win-loss record should be better, but not a lot of people don't have a good win-loss record. Finn doesn't have a good win-loss record. Finn, like Finn Balor, he don't have a good win-loss record either. Like Finn and Dom, if I take Finn's demented side out of it, they've been done dirty with the losses. But that shouldn't mean the losses shouldn't really mean anything because, well, they should and they shouldn't because if you're trying to say Dom's better with Rhea, but those losses came when he was with Rhea, a lot of them. And since he's a heel, he's going to lose more. And that's why I'm hoping in this year, starting on Monday, that Dom starts getting those wins. Because right now he needs those wins. He needs to start building them up. But just posting a win-loss record about Dom doesn't mean nothing because in the world of pro wrestling, booking can turn you into a believable contender overnight. Right now, if Dom faced against Gunther again, I think people would be willing to believe that he could sneak his way into a win. Like, I don't think people would have a problem with Dom sneaking out a win against Gunther. It's just that it can't. It's just right now that it's hard to believe Dom can win when you have Damien there, no selling everything. User says, and Damien doesn't even remember he cost Finn the World Heavyweight Championship. Yeah, see, at least Finn was able to use some of his history with Damien, but nobody wants to bring that up. Damien cost Finn the championship twice. It's those little things. So that's why I said if they want to do Wyatt, they're trying to talk about Wyatt 6. Damian and Rhea got what they got. They got kicked out because they were doing that stuff. And if they're going to do Y6, you're going to have to bring up that history with Damian and Rhea, and I don't think they're going to do that. So they're just going to be fighting for nothing. Senora says Dom and Drew are actually the two true chill guys in the WWE. Yeah, they try to just mind their own business, and they're not really starting shit. Drew is kind of starting shit, but he's targeted in his shit stirring. Senor says, I see Dom eliminates Finn at the Royal Rumble. I think so too. I think it's going to be like Dom is eliminating Finn and Damian at Royal Rumble. And he's probably going to have the longest um, run in the Royal Rumble he has been having these past couple of years, where he stays the longest. Ricola says 2025 is Dom's year. I'm really hoping it is. I really do, because he deserves it. I can't um, go with the process anymore. Eventually, they're gonna have to pull the trigger with Dom and have him start winning some things. Theora says, "Do you want Dom and Logan as tag team champs?" No, because I don't like Logan because he's a horrible human being. Non kayfabe. Is Logan a decent and pretty good wrestler? Yeah, but Logan is a decent and pretty good wrestler because he has the chance to rehearse his matches. Anybody can be a really good wrestler if you be able to rehearse. It's just when you're able to be wrestling on the fly is where I can see if there's any, if you have to call audibles. That's when I'm going to see if you're a really good wrestler or not. But Logan has the luxury of practicing his matches. But still, I don't want Dom with Logan. We'll get heat, but that's because Logan Paul is a horrible human being. And Galaxy says, wish they would let Liv and Dom tell their story on TV during Rhea's feud, but they stumbled so bad. That's what everybody was expecting. We were expecting them to actually say something, but then they weren't. And then Dom was just given the chicken tendies line. And I think something changed for Austin, because that's what happened in Austin um, when I went there, and I think something changed then, and where Dom couldn't say what he wanted to say. Something changed, and like I said, this is all for Rhea's protection. It's not to see that hampers Dom and Liv's character. If Dom and Liv can't say what happened, then that hampers their character. You see what happened then? He got reduced to a chicken titty line, and then that just makes him look weak. Now people were saying, well, yeah, that makes sense because he's a guy, but still, you're weakening Dom's character for that. And you said that was crazy when Logan was in US 10 for 278 days and 3 defenses. He was just saying it. He like Logan Paul was just like Rhea. They just had the belt and then he effed off to nowhere. At least Rhea was there on Raw, but like I said, she had Judgment Day to bounce off of, but she had no title defenses either. And Galaxy says when Dominik was doing that Chicken Titty promo, it looked like he didn't want to be there. Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I was meaning. It didn't look like he liked what he was saying. So I think that's why I say I think something got changed. He was going to say something, and then they changed it on him where he couldn't say what he wanted to say. And I think he was going to bring up a lot of stuff. Pretty much the only thing he could get out was a grown man calling her mommy, which is true. I mean, he kind of got roped into it. I mean, he did call her mom at first, but then it was Poppy at first. See, that's another part of the history. They couldn't at least allow Dom to say something that could that make his character look, I guess, what, superficial. But anybody who has been watching Dom and Rhea and Liv would know what happened with Dom and Rhea. You know, he got beat into the relationship. And even though they had some cute moments, and I will profess this as somebody that kind of liked those cute moments, it was abusive. She was always negative. She didn't believe in him. She was threatening to toss him out as soon as he lost the title. It's just those things. And he's never been able to bring that up. And then during Liv's things, it seems like they were finally forced to acknowledge that Rhea took out Liv's arm, but that was the only thing. They didn't show Rhea turning on Liv to join Judgment Day, unprompted. Liv didn't do anything to provoke Rhea to turn on her. You don't get that. You didn't. We barely see them showing Rhea attacking Raquel where they had to give up the tag titles. When Liv and Raquel weren't going after Rhea, they had to get involved because Rhea was being a bully to Natty. That's we've seen this stuff. We have the place list of what happened, but they don't want to put it on TV because they want to sanitize it just so they could continue having Rhea be this one note character. And Senior says, I predict JD will win SB title sooner or later. Yeah, he probably will. Like I said, I'll be back on Monday. I might be back on at 10:30 or 10:45 CST. It depends on how long that pro show goes. If it's a 30-minute long post show, I might shift the time to 10:45 CST just to give me a little bit of time to prep and say what I'm going to say. Hopefully, when I see y'all guys on Monday, Liv is a winner, and we can move on from all this Liv and stuff. But I will talk to you guys later. Happy New Year, by the way, and I'll talk with you soon. Thanks for tuning in to the Wrestling Receipts podcast. Remember to follow me on the X at WMaven WWE and on TikTok at WriterMaven for more wrestling insights and live reactions every Monday night after Raw. Until next time, I'm just saying.